talking college football and going over crazy scenarios that might happen, might not happen, who knows, on Valentine's Day. What more could you ask for? Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. It's been a very productive week. Me and Joey were talking, when was it? Sunday? It was either Sunday or Saturday. This last week that we had in February, one of the best weeks we've had in a while. Like, we can compare the week we just had with a week we have in the regular season. If y'all don't realize this, let me explain this real quick before we get into the show. So, as a college football YouTuber, you have seasons, okay? First, you have the boom months. I call them boom months, and that's July and August. And that's when people are absolutely starving for college football content. That's when your views go through the roof. Then you have the regular season. It levels off. You're consistent, great numbers, good views. Not quite as good as the boom months. And then you have the grind season, and that's after the national championship. And college football fans, they lose interest. National championship's over with. Just 7-8 months till the next college football season. They lose interest. So when you have a college football YouTube channel, you don't want to compare February's numbers to, let's say, August numbers. You're going to get depressed. You're going to feel like you're doing something wrong. What you got to do is you have to compare February to February, March to March, September, month to month. And this February so far has been really, really good. It's been comparable to a regular season month. So shout out to everybody that's watching my videos, hitting the thumbs up. Make sure to hit the thumbs up. Even if you're watching the replay of this video, hit the thumbs up. Still helps the video, hit the YouTube algorithm, all that good stuff, and we greatly appreciate it. And if you have a question, comment, troll attempt, want to make fun of me, best way to get that on the screen and get everybody's attention and me to read it is hit the super chat button. It's that little dollar sign that you see in the bottom right hand corner. Anything you put in that super chat is going to go on the screen, and it's a great way to donate to the show and help us to keep this rolling. We always appreciate the donations, but in the off season, those donations mean a little bit more because it is grind season. It's officially grind season. Yes, conference expansion. I'm obsessed with it. It's a sickness. I admit it. And when you boil it all down, what this all comes down to is people trying to figure out the next move. Who's it going to be? When's it going to be? Where are they going? That's what this boils down to. And none of us really knows what's going to happen. Seriously. I mean, who really thought that USC and UCLA was going to go to the Big Ten? I did videos on it, yes, part of my scenarios, but did I really think that was going to happen? Not up until it actually happened. No, I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did happen, and that's what this is all about. Now, today's video was actually kind of funny because, oh man, people got mad about it. Not going to lie. People got mad about it. So the video that I did today was, I watched a video over on an SMU YouTube channel, and they actually had Brett McMurphy over there as a guest, and he's a great insider. And he was talking about how George Kliavkoff went in person to SMU, flew over there, toured the campuses, and, he made a good point. I had never thought about it until he said it. Commissioners don't usually do that. I guess it just seemed normal, and maybe they just don't report it. I don't know. Maybe, since the spotlight is on conference realignment, they decide maybe the Pac-12 want to make a big deal of it. I don't know. But that's not the case. The case is conference commissioners don't usually do that. So Brett McMurphy painted it as a picture of a little bit of desperation on the Pac-12. I've heard both sides of the story. I've heard that the Pac-12 actually does have a TV deal. Everybody's staying. Nothing's happening. I've also heard the side that Arizona's not happy. Arizona State's not happy. I heard that ESPN did have a TV deal with the Pac-12, but they had to pull it because Disney is making cuts, and they might reoffer in the future, but it's not going to be as much. So, which one is it? Oh, and the one, where was it? Oh, the rumor mill guy. And I do not use this as I do not use this guy as a source. He is all over the place, but he has interesting tweets. I call him MacGyver. He's saying that he confirmed. Don't put too much into that. Just something to think about. Confirmed that Tulane actually reached out to the Big 12 and told the Big 12 that the Pac-12 was interested in Tulane. Okay. If that's true, that's bad for the Pac-12. Like, if you get turned down by a group of 5, that's bad. If that's true. I haven't confirmed that. Him saying confirmed doesn't mean it's confirmed, all right? Just ignore that part. I'm just saying if. If that happens, or is happening, or did happen, that's not good for the Pac-12. That's a bad look. Can't be getting turned down by a group of 5 teams. And if you watched my videos, you know that I had Tulane on the list of teams that the Pac-12 does need to go after. It makes a lot of sense. Especially, hey, if you're going to go after SMU, then Tulane is a no-brainer. I mean, I actually think that Tulane is a notch above SMU as far as a good fit for the Pac-12. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But just the way I view it, they have better academics. It stretches your footprint even more east. I know SMU gets you into Texas, but I mean, that's it. That's it. All SMU does for the Pac-12 is, hey, we have a school in the state of Texas. That's it. SMU does not have good fan support. They do have good academics. SMU's is better. Tulane's is better. Tulane has AAU status, Tier 1 research, the whole enchilada when it comes to academics. And on top of that, Tulane just won the AAC. And the cherry on top, they beat USC. USC, the team that's leaving, going to the Big Ten, Tulane beat them in the Cotton Bowl. Improbable, yes. USC should have won that football game. They were up by like 20 points or something like that with 4.5 minutes left, and they just threw the game away. But point is, Tulane checks every box. So I had Tulane on the list as far as teams that the Pac-12 should go after. Now, that doesn't mean they did, but it makes that message make sense. It makes it make sense. I think that the Pac-12 should go after Tulane. But Tulane going behind the Pac-12's back and talking to the Big 12, trying to gauge the interest of the Big 12, and at the same time, basically throwing mud in the face of the Pac-12, saying, hey, Big 12, we have a landing spot. Pac-12's talking to us, but how do y'all feel about us? We fit in the Big 12 more as far as regionally, and they do. Academically, they fit better in the Pac-12, but regionally, they do fit better in the Big 12. I don't think the Big 12 would ever take Tulane. Not because Tulane's not a good brand. It's just in the current TV deal, there's no guarantee of any type of revenue bump if the Big 12 adds any more group of 5 teams. So it really wouldn't make any sense. Honestly, if the Big 12 were to add any group of 5 teams, I would say Memphis and Boise State should be at the top of the list. Honestly, I was surprised that the Big 12 took Houston over Memphis. Not that Houston's not a good school. Not that Houston doesn't fit the Big 12. They do. They're another Texas school. But the Big 12 already had 3 teams in the state of Texas. Houston doesn't have that big of a fan base. And I have plenty of Houston subscribers. So y'all bear with me. Don't take this the wrong way, all right? You know what I'm saying is true. When it comes to the state of Texas, you have a bunch of schools fighting for fan support. It comes down to basically Texas and Texas A&M. And then the leftovers is split up between Baylor, TCU, and Texas Tech. And trust me, Texas Tech holds their own. They have a massive, massive fan base, massive alumni base, massive presence in the DFW. So, yeah, they hold their own. Houston does not. So it was a bit of a head scratcher as to why the Big 12 added Houston over Memphis. Memphis, I think, is the better brand. I think Memphis, I don't know the actual numbers. Maybe this is arguable. I don't know. But I would say that Memphis has the bigger fan base. Memphis is pouring $200 million into renovating the Liberty Bowl. It gets you a footprint in the state of Tennessee. It helps West Virginia even more. I mean, adding Cincinnati, UCF really doesn't help West Virginia, but Cincinnati does. So that's one team basically. And Memphis would help UCF too. So you're helping all those teams on the east side. Houston didn't really do anything. It just added to the core of the Big 12. The Big 12 has got to make sure that they take care of those eastern teams, because you don't want to leave them out on an island, because if an opportunity arises and it's a better choice, the travel is less, and the money's just comparable. It doesn't even have to be better. If it's just comparable, that will offset the expenses, and you're losing some good brands. So I really hope that the Big 12 does the right thing and starts focusing on the east side as well. And Memphis would have done that. Seriously, USF would have been a good choice, bringing in UCF and USF. I know a lot of people rolling their eyes right now. USF, what are you talking about? USF is a good brand. I'm telling you. They're building a new football stadium. Their fan base is growing. That's a nice recruiting hotbed right there, and it would have given UCF a travel partner. So bringing in USF and UCF at the same time, I could have bought that. But Houston, I don't know. Nobody's given me a valid reason. Nobody's given me a valid reason other than they're another Texas team. Okay, well, Big 12 already had 3. Maybe they're trying to build that number back up to 5 whenever they had Texas and Texas A&M. I don't know. Well, excuse me, they didn't have TCU whenever they had Texas A&M, so that would have still been at what, 4? Trying to get back up past that number. I don't know. Maybe Houston does bring in more money than, I don't know, a Memphis or USF. To me, it doesn't seem like it would. It doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't seem like that great of an addition. And I'm not saying the Big 12 shouldn't have added Houston. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you're making a choice between Memphis and Houston, I would have taken Memphis. It just makes more sense. You're just adding another pin into the state of Texas. So that's just my opinion about that. I think the first move that the Pac-12 needs to make is San Diego State, Fresno State. Well, let's rewind. First thing the Pac-12 needs to do is lock down the TV deal. And I'm hearing they have it. But I'm also hearing they don't. I haven't heard an announcement. When are they going to announce the TV deal? A week from now? A month from now? 2 months from now? How can you attract brands if you don't have a TV deal? That is the first step. It's like the conversation that I simulated in my video between George Kliavkoff and SMU. SMU's over there going, George Kliavkoff, what are the numbers? And George over there's going, we're working on the numbers, but we're definitely focusing on SMU. ESPN's still in the game. They had to pull it because Disney's making cuts. But don't worry. ESPN's going to offer us again. But, man, we have this great avenue of streaming, and streaming's going to be mainstream soon. And then SMU's like, well, what are the numbers, George? We don't care about 5 years. What are the numbers? Well, hold on. I don't really have them in front of me, but trust me, this is a big George. What are the numbers? If there's no TV deal, there's no numbers. I mean, he could throw out some numbers and make them up, I guess. But if there's no TV deal, there's nothing to pitch. Step number 1 is lock down the TV deal. And that is where Brett Yormark beat George Kliavkoff as a conference commissioner. Head-to-head, he beat him. Kliavkoff took the wrong strategy. Wrong. Yormark realized that the Big 12 needed to nail down a TV deal as soon as possible, and he did so with Fox. Kliavkoff's over there going, all right, we think we're worth as much as the Big Ten and the SEC, so we're gonna take on the highest bidder. So we're gonna open our doors, let the bidding begin, and we're gonna try to get 60, 70 million per team. that was the wrong approach. You should have had that thing nailed down. That way you could have pitched that to other team. Have clauses in there like the Big 12 does, like the escalation clause. Hey, if we add you, then we can add more to the pie. Look, the contract is guaranteed, stuff like that. But without a contract, there is no pitch. So if it's true that the Pac-12 does have a TV deal, where's the announcement? What kind of money? I mean, the speculation out there is crazy, people. Crazy. In my comments section, some people are hearing $21 million per team. I don't think that's the case, but anything's believable right now. That's my point. With no announcement, with just a bunch of guessing, anything's believable right now. And I thought that George Kliavkoff was a good hire. I really did. Not anymore. I think his problem was he overvalued the Pac-12. He thought the value of the Pac-12 was as good as or as much as the Big Ten and the SEC, and that's just laughable, especially after losing USC and UCLA. The Pac-12, even with USC and UCLA, still not there, guys. It is what it is. It's just like the Big 12. With Oklahoma and Texas, they still wouldn't have been worth as much as the SEC and the Big 10. All right? I know that stings a little bit if you're a Big 12 fan. I know that stings a little bit if you're a Pac-12 fan. The facts are facts. Truths are truths. Big 12, even with Oklahoma and Texas, would not have gotten a TV deal even close to the Big 10 or the SEC. And you better believe, listen, a lot of Big 12 fans are still a little bit upset that Oklahoma and Texas left. Be glad, because if those two brands stay, they're going to want unequal revenue share. So you're not going to get a deal as strong as the SEC and the Big 10. But on top of that, your big boy brands, Oklahoma and Texas, they're going to want a bigger cut. Hey, give us a bigger cut or we're gone. So it's actually a good thing. The one thing that I didn't understand, that I didn't agree with Brett Gormark, is so desperate, I'm going to use that word, so desperate to get Oklahoma and Texas out of the Big 12 ASAP to look to the future, which I agree with, that they waived the exit fees. What? And on top of that, they didn't even make them pay the full buyout. So instead of $80 million per team for a total of $160 million, they paid a total of $100 million, no exit fees. So Oklahoma and Texas actually saved money by leaving a year early. They saved money. That's the one thing that just, oh my gosh. That didn't make any sense. I didn't understand that. I understand Brett Yormark's thinking. He wants, Oklahoma and Texas are part of the Big 12 past. We're looking towards the future, the Big 12 future. Oklahoma and Texas are not a part of that, so we want them out of here as soon as possible. That part I understand. The part that I did not understand was waiving the exit fee and dropping the buyout by $60 million. So I don't know. Alan Aaron, that's actually a good point. And I do think that's the biggest question. Alan Aaron says, I honestly think the ACC would crumble before the Pac-12. I do think that's the question. I think that is the relevant question right now. Which one of these conferences is going to go down first? And a lot of people point to the grant of rights for the ACC. It's ironclad. There's ways out of it. The first way is $500 million. That nobody's going to do that. It's not happening, but it is a way out. Okay. And then on top of that is the majority vote to renegotiate the grant of rights. There are ways around it. For the Pac-12, I do think they're a little bit more shaky, though. I'm going to come back with that. I think, if that vote for the grant of rights happened, then that's a whole different story. But it hasn't happened yet. So what that tells me is there has to be something cooking for the ACC. Think about it like this. If those teams know that they have a landing spot, and they would, what would be keeping them from taking that vote and renegotiating or dissolving the grant of rights. There's something else in the ACC. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're going to bring in Notre Dame. If Notre Dame decides to come into the ACC as a full-time football member, and to be honest with you, if Notre Dame were to join a conference, I think the best choice would be the ACC. Geographically, they fit better in the Big Ten, but the ACC has treated Notre Dame very nicely to the point of butt kissing. They've kissed Notre Dame's butt. I mean, I'm just going to say what it is. The ACC has kissed Notre Dame's butt. So even though they fit in the Big Ten geographically better, I think the ACC would be a better choice. I think they would have more freedom. I think they would have more control. I think they would have an easier path to the playoffs. I think they could get that bye week easier. And I got some comments in the comments section from that Notre Dame video. That if Notre Dame joined the ACC, they're not guaranteed to get the ACC championship. That's true. But if they don't join the ACC, they're also not guaranteed to, finish 11-1 or 12-0. It's the same thing. And then they say, well, that's playing an extra game. It may be, but that extra game can get you a bye week. Let's say you go into the ACC championship 11-1, same as you would have finished in the regular season. Okay, let's compare apples to apples. Notre Dame Independent, they finished 11-1. Notre Dame in the ACC, they finished 11-1. Notre Dame Independent stops. Notre Dame plays in the ACC championship. Even if they lose, they could still get into the playoffs because it's now at 12 teams. Remember, this is not the 14 playoff. This is the 12-team playoff. Notre Dame is a big brand. They are a big draw. The playoff committee will bend over backwards to get them in the playoffs, just like they bent over backwards for Ohio State last year. It is what it is. They make money, okay? It's not like some conspiracy theory or, they favor Ohio State. No, facts are Notre Dame, Ohio State, big-time moneymakers. They're going to bend over backwards to get them in, okay? So Notre Dame gets to the ACC championship game 11-1. They lose in a close game. They could still get in at 11-2, ACC runner-up. On the flip side, they win the ACC championship game, they can get a bye week. I see no downside for that. The term of extra game is just an extra game for Notre Dame. That you're oversimplifying it. No, it wouldn't just be an extra game for Notre Dame. It would be more opportunities. More opportunities. And if Notre Dame fans are really looking at it that way, that means you don't have confidence in your team. Think about that. But Notre Dame, we go in the regular season. If we're independent 11-1, we're probably in the playoffs. But if we're in the ACC and we're 11-1, we get an ACC championship. We could lose it, not get in the playoffs. Well, that means you don't have confidence in your team right there. Just saying. And like I said in my video earlier, what if the playoff committee decides to take this a step further? So we've already seen playoff expansion, right? We're at 12 teams, right? And they're starting to reward conference championships. The big debate was how valuable are conference championships. The value has gone down. Well, the playoff expansion just jacked it back up because top 6 conference champions auto bid, top 4 conference champions bye week. So it's more valuable again. So what if the playoff committee takes it a step further? All right. Phase 1, expansion 1, we're 12 teams. Not even talking about the numbers. We're talking about the criteria, okay? They could stay at 12 and change the criteria. So the next step is, all right, right now we're at 6 auto bids for the top champions, 4 bye weeks for the top champions, all right? Move to the next phase. You keep that criteria, but the rest of the brackets can only be filled out by conference members. That's how you make Notre Dame join a conference. I don't know if that's on their agenda. I don't know if a motive or a goal for the playoff committee is to get Notre Dame into a conference. I don't know. And another argument that goes against you, Notre Dame, the 1 year that you weren't in a conference, the ACC, you got to the ACC championship, you lost. What happened? Still got to the playoffs. And that was in the 4-team. I seriously don't see any excuse or any reason for you not to be in a conference. I really don't. I think you're sticking to the old traditions of Notre Dame. That's what this boils down to. The old because everything else doesn't make sense. That 1 year that Notre Dame was in the ACC, they got to the ACC championship. They didn't win, and they still got in. Why? Because the playoff committee will bend over backwards for Notre Dame. And I understand that Notre Dame, I think they were undefeated going into the ACC championship game, so that was their first loss. But still, it proves my point. Even if you lose in the ACC championship, you can still get in the playoffs. And that was the 14 playoff. 12-team playoff, you get to the ACC championship, Notre Dame, you're in. As long as you don't have more than 3 losses, you're in. In a 12-team playoff, if you get to the ACC championship, you're in. I'm just saying. And then I hear these arguments of, well, Notre Dame really doesn't care about the bye week. And Notre Dame really wants the home playoff game. Number one, that's not guaranteed. Number two, that's dumb if you don't care about the bye week. Dumb. Dumb. When it comes to the playoffs and playing the best of the best, you want every advantage possible. And that bye week is a reward. It is an advantage. So to say that you don't care about that is just plain ridiculous and dumb. Stop saying that. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, so there's my pitch for Notre Dame joining a conference, and my opinion would be the ACC. And no, I'm not going to say that the ACC would bring West Virginia in with Notre Dame. I've rode that horse. I have gotten off that horse. That's not happening. There are still scenarios where it could happen, but I think that if the ACC does bring in Notre Dame and Notre Dame joins the ACC, it could just be Notre Dame. Remember, the rule that states that a conference with 12 or more members must have divisions to have a conference championship, that rule is out the window. Out the window. It doesn't exist anymore. So the ACC could just bring in Notre Dame, be done with it, stay at 15, and that's it. And I think it would solidify the conference. I don't think they'd be getting SEC or Big Ten numbers, but it wouldn't be shaky anymore. Nobody's leaving. Teams like being in the ACC. They just don't like the money. So I think it's a win-win. So to answer the argument of who's shakier, who's going to go down first, I truly believe that the Pac-12 will go down first. And that's not a prediction saying I think the Pac-12 is going down this year. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the ACC will outlast the Pac-12. Whether it's the Pac-12 lasts till 2031 and the ACC lasts till 2036, that's 5 and 10 years from now. Something like that. 13 years from now. Anyways, bottom line is whether it happens this year, next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I do think that the ACC will last longer. My biggest question is not who goes down first, but who breaks off with the SEC and the Big Ten? That's what I'm getting to, D-Wayne. The end game. 10 years from now. Yeah, what is the end game for all this? We're trying to figure out what conferences are going to exist when it's all said and done. So it's a good argument and a good conversation to have, good video content. Try to figure out who's going down first. Is it going to be the ACC or is it going to be the Pac-12? I think the Big 12 has bought themselves some time. Even if the Big 12 doesn't last as long as the SEC and the Big 10, I think they've bought themselves some time. So it does come down to the Pac-12 and the ACC. The ACC seems like they're okay because they have that grant of rights. There are ways around it, but that would take some coordination and some cooperation by everybody. Could happen. Likely? I don't know. Pac-12, on the other hand, no TV deal. Group of 5 teams, possibly. You're good, Joey. No problem. Pac-12 possibly getting turned down by a group of 5 teams. Once again, I don't know if that's like the truth or whatever, but it's being talked about. It's being passed around, so I'm going to talk about it. That's the thing about this YouTube channel that people don't get. Okay, so First of all, fake news. When you call something fake news, doesn't it have to be news first? Don't I have to be saying, this is news, giving it off as news? In order for it to be fake news, it has to be news in general. This is not news. This is freaking entertainment. I'm trying. You know what? The goal of the off season or the grind season is to get the college football fan bases through the off season, because it seems like it's the longest part of the year, and then college football season goes just like that. It's easy to do videos in the regular season. Everybody's engaged. Everybody loves college football in the regular season. It's the off season that's tough. So I'm here to get you through it. That's why I do these videos. It's not fake news. It's not news at all. Go watch ESPN if you want fake news. Matt Ritson, thank you for the $4.99 donation, says Pac-12 should make a deal with ESPN over Amazon. Agreed. Stick with Amazon. Lots of schools will leave Pac-12 easy. ESPN and ESPN Plus over Amazon streaming. 100% agree. Maybe 5-10 years from now, it would be good to go tier 1 with Amazon once streaming becomes mainstream, like thinking in the future. Then you can do that. But right now, it is not mainstream. I don't know anybody that watches Amazon TV. And I'm not saying that nobody watches it, but who's going to subscribe to Amazon just to watch college football? Nobody. That's a terrible idea. Why would you give streaming the biggest value and then ESPN under that? 100%. And these conferences, that's what they want right now. They want streamlined cable. Streaming is not mainstream yet. No, it is not mainstream yet. When it is, then that's a good time to do business with Amazon. And yeah, don't even get me started with the networks. Not just, I'm not just here to slam on the Pac-12, because the ACC network, it's been a debacle as well. The biggest issue with the ACC network is they didn't have a plan in place. What I mean by that is distribution. Their distribution was so off. Not very many people even had the option of getting the ACC network because the carrier in ACC region didn't carry it. That deal made no sense. The ACC network was destined to flop because of their distribution. This is a good video. I need to write this down because I just thought about this. Hold on. So think about this, people. What do the ACC and the Pac-12 have in common as far as mistakes that they've made? Think about it for a second. Dadgummit, pen's going out of ink right when I'm trying to write during the live show. Of course. Hold on, guys. Give me a second. Spare. I got a spare. Don't worry. Anybody? Anybody know what the common denominator as far as what the Pac-12 and the ACC messed up doing? Distribution. Two different types of distribution mistakes, but both are distribution related. So for the ACC, it was having it available to ACC fan bases. If they don't even have the choice of choosing it, then how are you going to get your money? How are you going to get your viewers? You're not. They can't even choose it. For the Pac-12, Comcast overpaid them $50 million, and those two senior executives decided to tell nobody. So two separate problems, yes, but both related to distribution. Oh, man. So there's always a common denominator when things are thriving, succeeding, and when things are failing and dying. There are always common denominators. There's always reasons. It's not just, well, we just have bad luck. They just made better decisions and we just have bad luck. No, you made a mistake. You made a mistake. And the Pac-12, of course, they had to fire those two senior executives. Is there Is their bookkeeping that bad? Is their bookkeeping that bad? How do you not? And the argument that I heard from that was they relied on Comcast bookkeeping. Well, that's stupid. Why would you not have your own bookkeeping? Because stuff like that's going to happen. And then the two senior executives, whenever they discovered it 4 years ago, they didn't tell anybody. Where did that money go? If I would have discovered that, I would be thinking, hey, if I don't tell somebody, that's my job. It's not my fault. We didn't do it. We just discovered it. We need to tell somebody, or it's my job. Or maybe some palm greasing happened, went in their pockets. They got fired. Doesn't matter. $50 million split to $25 million. Doesn't matter. They don't have to pay it back. The teams have to pay it back. I'm not saying they did it. That's that's hearsay. I have no proof of it, but it's really an eyebrow raiser. I mean, just the way I think about things is try to figure out what makes the most sense. Doesn't mean it's actually true, but man, that makes sense for them to pocket. I mean, that would be the only reason why I wouldn't tell anybody. Otherwise, you would think, hey, if I don't tell somebody about this, that's my job. If they find out on their own and they knew that I knew, I'm done, which is what happened. They got fired. But if you're pocketing it, then you have a reason to not tell anybody. And if they can't prove it because they're relying on Comcast bookkeeping system, yes, you still get fired, but you're still a millionaire. Once again, not saying they were doing that, not saying they did that. I'm just going by what makes sense. That's what I try to do. So, what would be the worst case scenario as far as actually possible for the Pac-12? Well, first thing, these rumors being true as far as Tulane and SMU turning them down. If that rumor, if that rumor is true, which I am not saying it is, it's just a rumor, but if that rumor is true and Tulane and SMU do in fact turn down the Pac-12, which I didn't know the Pac-12 was interested. I suggested the Pac-12. That's a whole different story. So if those two teams turn down the Pac-12, that means the Pac-12 still doesn't have a TV deal, and they don't have enough confidence to join a conference that doesn't have a TV deal. And I saw a lot of comments on that video that I made saying, well, any money's better than the AAC. Well, if there's no TV deal, there's no guarantee. Why would you jump from some money, even though it wouldn't be as much, to who knows? If there's no deal, you're not going to jump. So if those two teams do decide, it would be because of that. Now, if SMU and San Diego State do decide to join the Pac-12, how much does that help the Pac-12? Well, I don't think it's enough to stabilize. I don't think it's enough to bump up any value. Maybe it calms some people down, showing that the Pac-12's doing something. Really, that's the only thing that would show me is George Kliavkoff is trying to do something to show that the Pac-12 members, hey, we're trying to do something. It may not be the best decision in the world, but we're adding teams. So, maybe he's trying to give them confidence. Hey, if I'm doing this now, in the future, we're going to try to add even better brands. Well, you need to be adding the best brands possible right now. Ask yourself this. If you're a Pac-12 fan, well, if you're any fan, ask this question right now. Is SMU the best brand the Pac-12 can bring in right now? Is SMU the best brand that the Pac-12 can bring in right now? Is it the highest star that the Pac-12 can go out and try to grab? No, it is not. And that's not me slamming SMU. That's not me putting down SMU. All I'm saying is there are better brands out there. I actually think San Diego State's a smart pick. I really do. Because maybe they're not the best brand, but they help soften the blow as far as losing UCLA and USC. Fresno State, yes, Fresno State would be my other pick. That would help soften the blow even more. And Fresno State, I'm not sure about the endowment and all that stuff, but Fresno State's fan base is definitely more supportive than SMU's. Way more supportive. Their brand is on the rise. They basically own the valley as far as attendance and eyeballs. The Pac-12 would definitely be gaining some eyeball revenue over SMU. I'd have to look up the endowment and the academics and all that so I can compare dollar for dollar. But if you're looking at football side of things, which the Pac-12 needs to start looking at, Fresno State's a no-brainer. I would even say Boise State would be an argument. But the Pac-12 looks down on Boise State because they don't have great academics. And I understand, the higher academic or the higher learning conference. I get that. I am not trash talking that. I am not looking down on that. I am not belittling that. I understand it. What I'm saying is, right now at this point in time, should that be the thing you're focusing on? I would think the thing that the Pac-12 needs to be focusing on is surviving. And football is what's going to help you survive. Getting that TV deal is what's going to help you survive. John Teal, thank you for the $2 donation, says, what if ACC took Memphis with Notre Dame? That's an interesting question. The only thing that I would say is they could use the whole academics argument like they did with West Virginia. But to be honest with you, once the ACC took in Louisville, that argument went out the window. And I know the comeback to that is, that was after Maryland left for the Big Ten, so the ACC needed to fill that spot. Really? There was no better academic school that you could. It wasn't about academics when it came to Louisville. Louisville had a good brand. At least, just own up to it. Just say, yeah, we added Louisville because they had a good brand. One of the best basketball programs out there. Not having a good year this year, but overall, I think they actually have the largest basketball stadium in the entire nation, if I'm not mistaken. I think Louisville has the biggest. I don't know about the best. I don't know how to compare that. Louisville has the biggest basketball stadium for college basketball in the entire nation. And then, of course, football has taken off. Ever since Louisville joined the Big East, their football program has taken off as far as watchability, fan base size, fan support, all that stuff. Success, some here and there, nothing elite or anything like that. But they're bringing in money for the ACC. That's what that decision was about. I don't like the smokescreen of academics. Academics are great. I don't look down on it. I don't make fun of it or anything like that. It's a very valuable thing in life. But when you're in a certain position, you do have to make compromises. You do. So the Pac-12 grabbing SMU, to me, that's them saying we're still not willing to make compromises when it comes to the academic side of things, and not going for the best brands. Footprint in the state of Texas is all we wanted, even though SMU doesn't really add that much. If you're going to take SMU, it's got to be the second wave. And Benjamin Hawks just hit it right on the head. If you're going to take a team out of the state of Texas, Rice would actually make more sense. If you're going by academic standards, Rice makes way more sense than SMU. Even Rice doesn't have a great fan base, but neither does SMU. That's comparable. Maybe SMU's fan base is slightly better, but not much. Nothing to tip the scales. Rice would make more sense than SMU. Tulane would make more sense than SMU. And like I mentioned earlier, the reason a group of five, listen to what I'm saying. The reason a group of 5 team were turned down an invite to the Pac-12 is if there was no TV deal in place. Okay? They only make $7 million in the AAC. That's not a lot. But if you're going to jump to a Power 5 conference, they better have a TV deal. You don't want to jump into a conference that's about to dissolve. There are reasons why a Group of 5 team would not jump to the Pac-12. In fact, whenever Brent McMurphy was a guest on that SMU, whenever I think of the name of, I'll post a link to the description of this video. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but he was a guest on an SMU. This was an SMU YouTube channel. SMU, okay? The comments got blown up. SMU fans are like, man, we might need to wait and kind of hold back and see what, wait till the smoke clears, see what happens with Oregon and Washington, see what happens with Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. That's why SMU or anybody, I'm not just picking on SMU, I'm talking about any Group of 5 team. The reason a Group of 5 team would say no to the Pac-12 is if there's no TV deal and if they know something that we don't. If they know that these teams are about to bolt or that the Pac-12 is in trouble. You don't jump from a Group of 5 conference to a Power 5 conference just because it's a Power 5 conference. You want it to be stable. What if you were remember when TCU was in the Big East for 5 seconds? Then they figured out the Big East was that's a bad idea. Change their mind just like that. Yeah. We might be looking at a Big East repeat. SMU talking to the Pac-12. Maybe they actually do join the Pac-12. But then they see, oh, man, this is looking like a Big East repeat. We're going to back out of this. Thanks for giving us the Power 5 title for 10 seconds, but we're not going to go down with the conference. There are reasons why a Group of 5 team would not join a Power 5 conference. And that would be it's not stable. And if a Power 5 answer this question, if a Power 5 conference, any, all right, not just the Pac-12, if any Power 5 conference was not stable, would SMU stabilize it? If the Big 12 wasn't stable right now, would adding SMU stabilize it? If the ACC wasn't stabilized right now, would adding SMU stabilize it? If the Big 10 wasn't stable right now, if it was in turmoil, would adding SMU stabilize it? If the mighty SEC, it just means more, for whatever reason, wasn't stabilized right now, would adding SMU make it stable? Pac-12, does adding SMU make it stable? No. No. Now, the question is, how stable is the Pac-12? Will SMU and San Diego State accept the invites? That's the question. We will find out. Right now, it's just a bunch of rumors, a bunch of guessing. We're going to find out just how stable the Pac-12 is by the decision of those two teams. If those two teams join the Pac-12, it may have been stabilized, because those two teams are not going to join a conference if it's not stable, because they know, hey, us joining, it's not going to stabilize it. So that will tell us. John Waffle H2P, thank you for the $1.99 donation, says Big 12 needs to add William and Mary and Richmond. Dude, try to make your trolls make sense. I need to get sound effects button, because that was a fail, man. That was a fail. Make your trolls make sense, man. But I do appreciate the donation for sure. So that's what it boils down to me, guys. I'm not bashing SMU. I'm just saying I don't think that's the wisest at this point in time for the Pac-12. I don't think that's the wisest addition. Maybe if they bring in, okay, let's say they bring in San Diego State and Fresno State, right? They lock down the TV deal. Yes. So it's back to the Pac-12. Then maybe the Pac-12 adds SMU and Texas. So you do it in steps. First, you add 2 California schools to soften the blow of losing USC and UCLA. And then the next step, you can add 2 Texas schools. Solid footprint in the state of Texas. Rice and SMU. Listen, there's no rush for SMU. Think about that. Oh, if we don't get SMU, somebody might snag them. Who's going to snag SMU up, guys? Who are you trying to beat? Big 12? Nope, they don't want SMU. ACC? No, they don't want nobody. So take your time. Make the right decisions at the right time. Don't rush it. Don't be adding teams just to be adding teams. That's what I got trashed for. Whenever I made the videos about West Virginia going to ACC, the one thing that I always got bashed for was going to Blue to West Virginia wouldn't add any value. The ACC would just be adding West Virginia and just be adding another piece of the pie. They wouldn't be adding value to the pie. That is the argument that I'm looking at for the Pac-12. Guys, don't rush. Do things in the right order and make each decision matter. To me, adding SMU, it's like, what is the purpose of that? San Diego State makes sense. I am not trashing that one. San Diego State makes sense. San Diego State, Fresno State. First, stabilize, grab more of the California market, get a TV deal, good. Now, if you want to go get a Texas footprint and you want to get SMU and Rice, do it. SMU Tulane, do it. Rice Tulane, do it. But do it in order. Nobody is racing against the Pac-12 to try to pick up SMU. Nobody. They're going to be there. They're going to shop around. They're going to be there. John Waffle HGP, thank you for the $4.99 donation. If you did your research, you would know that those schools were actually rivals of WVU back in the day. Yeah, but they're FCS schools, dude. That was the point. Anyways, yeah, I would be looking at, I think Robert has a good list. San Diego State, Fresno State, Boise State, UNLV, SMU, Tulane. See, SMU, okay, but lower on the list. I'm not saying the Pac-12 should never, ever add SMU. I'm not saying that. I don't think they should add SMU right now. There's no purpose in that decision. There's no reward. There's no gain. There's no upside for that. Bringing in San Diego State and Fresno State, there is upside. You're softening the blow. You're capturing back some of that California market, not making up for totally what you lost in USC and UCLA. Never going to happen. You lost the LA market. That's a massive, massive blow. But it softens the blow. You're getting some of that California school back. That is a decision with purpose. SMU and San Diego, that combination doesn't make any sense. So you get the California schools, and then, okay, let's get a footprint in the state of Texas. That's fine. Then you get that in pairs. Rice, SMU. Remember, the Pac-12 is already known for travel partners. Everybody travels together. Well, if you get San Diego State, SMU, who's traveling with SMU? Nobody. It screws that up too. If you do it my way, even the traveling thing makes sense. San Diego State, Fresno State. 2 California schools, Cal and Stanford are there with them, right? Next step, SMU and Rice, both Texas schools. Travel partner. Makes sense if you do it. I'm going to run for Pac-12 commissioner. Who's going to vote for me? Do I have any votes? Do I have any votes? Man, don't make decisions just to be making decisions. Have purpose. Make it make sense. Make it lead to something. Make it a reward. Make it help. Adding SMU does not help in this particular scenario. In the future, on that second round, it helps because you're adding a travel partner to Rice. But adding SMU with San Diego State, it just that nothing about that makes sense. Nothing. Nothing about that makes sense at all. Any chance of the Big 12 adding SMU? Nah. Big 12 Tulane. Now, I've heard some people talk about the Big 12 adding Tulane, and it's an interesting thought, but just because of the TV deal, it wouldn't make sense. However, I got to think about it. The way that contract is worded is it doesn't guarantee a revenue bump, but it doesn't mean that they can't get Fox back to the negotiating table and figure out a decent deal or unequal revenue share. You know, everybody else gets 31 million. We'll bring in Tulane. They'll be happy with 12 million. Much, much lower than everybody else. But that's still 5 million more a year than what they were making in the AAC. Remember, that's one thing. That's some leverage that you have on these group of 5 teams, because they're not making money at all. 7 million a year is the AAC, and I think that's the highest. I think the Mountain West is like 3.4, something like that. So they're making either 7 million or lower. So you could bring in a Tulane, give them unequal revenue share. Let's round it out to 15. That's still not a lot. Tulane gets 15 million a year. You bring Fox to negotiating. Hey, we want to add Tulane. Now, we know the contract says it doesn't increase the revenue. So what we want to do is just add the 15 million a year for Tulane. And they said they're okay with that. They agree with that. That's still double what they were making in the AAC. And then eventually, maybe we can bump them up to full revenue if the conference keeps expanding and we can attract a bigger contract. You could do it that way. Or what about the idea that I had the other day about, well, actually, you know what? I didn't come up with the idea. I just made the video. It was actually Tony Altimore that came up with the idea of conference pledges. Now, I'm not a lawyer, so don't ask me how the contracts could be done. But with conference pledges, if you didn't see my video, basically you're bringing in a team as a pledge. They get a pledge contract. They're not a part of the actual TV contract. They get a pledge contract, and they're a part of your conference for 5 years, but not a full-time member. So let's say, okay, in the Big 12, making 32 million for a pledge, you sign them for 10 million a year. That's still more than what they're making in the Group of 5 conference, right? I mean, not much, but it's more. 10 million is more than 7 million. That's what you call your pledge contract, all right? Once that pledge contract is up, then the conference can go back and reevaluate, what the numbers look like. Did they do good? Did they help us? If they didn't, sorry, you made some more money for 5 years, more money than what you had made in the AAC, but sorry, we're going to have to let you go back to the AAC. One requirement would be that the conference that the Group of 5 team is coming from would have to keep their spot open. They can add another team if they want to, but they have to guarantee to allow that team to come back because they're on a probationary period, a pledge period, if you will. So let's say Memphis. Here's a great example, guys. Great. Memphis. Big 12 puts Memphis on a pledge contract. The AAC would take Memphis back in a heartbeat, so they wouldn't even have to guarantee to keep that spot open. AAC is going to take them back in a heartbeat if it doesn't work out with the Big 12. But hear me out. Big 12 signs Memphis to a pledge contract, right? So everybody else in the Big 12 is making 32 million. Memphis is making 10 million. Not a lot. Still more than 7 million in the AAC, right? So they sign them to a 4-year. Let's say they sign them to a 4-year pledge contract, right? 4 years is up, and Big 12 is like, man, business is booming in Memphis. People like watching West Virginia versus Memphis, or TCU versus Memphis, or Oklahoma State versus Memphis. Those TV numbers were good. Hey, Fox, come over here. Look at these TV numbers. Fox looks, wow, those are pretty good. Okay, let's make them a full member, and then they can negotiate the TV deal and incorporate Memphis into the deal. If it doesn't work out, sorry, Memphis, you just didn't live up to expectations. You made a little bit more money here while you were here, but you're going to have to go back to the AAC. You always knew that there was a chance that you're going to have to go back to the AAC, so no hard feelings, and then just go on from there. And the thing about that is, think about conference expansion right now. These conferences are trying to make the perfect decision. And if they mess up, they're screwed. Look at the Big Ten with Nebraska. I'm not saying that Nebraska is not making the Big Ten money, because I guarantee they are. But, man, Nebraska's been a terrible, terrible fit. Terrible, terrible, horrible. Imagine if Nebraska was on a, you know what? Since they're a bigger brand, put Nebraska on a 10-year pledge contract, okay? So Nebraska's on a 10-year pledge contract, and here recently, Nebraska hasn't made a bowl in 7 years. Sorry, Nebraska, it's not working. You're going to have to go back to the Big 12. Nebraska fans would be happy about that. Nebraska fans don't want Nebraska in the Big Ten. The only reason Nebraska's in the Big Ten is because of money. The administration and whoever making money. The fans hate it. So, yes, the administration wouldn't be happy. Oh, man, we're losing all this money. But the fans would be like, oh, yeah, we're going back to the Big 12. That would actually be a big win for Nebraska. So, I mean, there are some positives to this. I don't really see hardly any negatives. I really don't. I mean, I'm sure there is. I'm sure I'll think of some and probably do a video on it, though. But I really don't see any downside, or very much downside, to pledge contracts. So, I don't know. The Nebraska example really, really pops out to me. I'm trying to think of another one. What about, let's see, Boston College in the ACC? Okay. We'll say Boston College was signed to a 10-year pledge contract. Everybody else is making, what, 25, 28 million? Remember, this is a contract back in the early 2000s. 25, 28 million, something like that. Boston College is signed to a pledge contract, 10 years. They're getting 12 to 15 million. Okay, still more than any group of five. But over the 10 years, the ACC would definitely be able to see the Boston College numbers and say, this is not working out. Sorry, Boston College. You're going to have to go to the AAC. We know the Big East doesn't exist anymore, but AAC said that they would take you. And that's how the ACC could try West Virginia out. And I've seen these arguments where automatic, no, go to Blue Dude. If the ACC ever accepted West Virginia, this long list of teams would actually quit the ACC. Well, first of all, that's not how it works. If West Virginia was accepted, it would be the same thing as like voting down the grant of rights and splitting up the ACC. I don't know if they would be willing to do that over one team. I don't understand why so many teams would just dislike West Virginia that much. That's the part that doesn't understand, that I don't understand. Maybe it is true and it's just mind blowing. I don't know. But so the ACC signs West Virginia to a 10-year probation contract, and they see the numbers of the rivalries. West Virginia Pitt every year. Make sure try to maximize these contracts, even though they're not full-time members. Try to maximize them. So West Virginia Pitt plays every year. West Virginia Virginia Tech every year. West Virginia Louisville every year. West Virginia Syracuse. West Virginia Miami. West Virginia Boston College. Make Boston College more valuable. You put in those marquee matchups, at least 2 or 3 of those every year, and the ACC's looking at those numbers are, oh, okay, so West Virginia does bring in eyeballs. We see that our fan bases that are already in the ACC like watching the ACC or like watching West Virginia play their ACC team. Let's bring them in. They bring in some revenue. Or, man, sorry, West Virginia, you're disappointing. We thought you'd bring in more money, and it didn't happen. So we're gonna have to let you go back to the Big 12. Either way, at least you figure out if it's gonna work. That's the whole concept of pledge contracts. The concept is figure out what works for you and what doesn't. Because these decisions that these conferences are having to make, they're well, we've done our research. The numbers look good, but at the end of the day, you're hoping that it works out. You don't know for sure. If you did a pledge contract, you could see over a 5-10 year span. Yep, exactly what we thought. This team is going to work out. Or, man, I didn't see that coming. This team is not going to work out. We're going to have to cut them loose. Either way, you are figuring out what's going to work for you, what's not. That's what it comes down to. I understand these conferences, scared, especially West Virginia. West Virginia is like taboo for the ACC. The ACC is definitely, I'm not going to say scared, but they're definitely hesitant as far as possibly bringing in West Virginia. It was confirmed. The ACC and West Virginia were talking. That was confirmed. I don't know who ended the talks. I don't know if it was West Virginia or the ACC, but they ended. So they're very hesitant on West Virginia. Not sure why, but if you had the pledge contracts, you could literally see how much value these teams would add. And if they didn't cut the mustard, you can let them go. And they couldn't get mad at it because they would see, they would see it. Here are the numbers, guys. Sorry it didn't work out. Anyways, guys, I got to wrap this up. Kids go back to school, which, by the way, I don't know if y'all knew this or not because I'm not sure. I knew Greenville County, which is one county over, their kids actually did go to school, but my kids were in Pickens County. They actually had yesterday and today off, so they go back to school tomorrow and 3-day week. That's a pretty good week. They're pretty excited. Well, they're not excited to go back to school, but they're excited they got so many days off. So I got to get to bed and do the whole school routine tomorrow. So got to get off here. Appreciate everybody stopping by on Valentine's night. I'm being super honest. For a Valentine's night, I thought we'd be lucky to get 50. We got up to over 100. We got up to over 100 people watching on Valentine's night. So shout out to you guys. Shout out to everybody. Hit the like button. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Shout out to everybody in the comment section. Everybody on the super chat. Appreciate those donations. Those really help the channel keep going, especially in the off season. Appreciate you guys. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your Tuesday night and a good rest of your Valentine's night. We will be back tomorrow, 10 p.m. Be here. We'll have something. Hey, even if it's something crazy, we're going to have something interesting to talk about. That's what this channel is about. It's not about what's actually going to happen or what actually is the next step. This is about talking about things that are interesting, entertaining. Not, oh, he's wrong. Oh, he's right this time. I'm not worried about that. I'm talking interesting, entertaining. So we'll have another interesting thing to talk about tomorrow. So stop on by and check out Going Blue Dude. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button. This is what we do. This is what we do every single day. At least 2 regular videos, and we try to do a live show every day. I had a busy weekend, so I had to take a couple days off, but we're back on the grind. Anyways, have a good rest of your Tuesday. Have a good rest of your Valentine's evening. Yeah, there you go. But for tonight, Going Blue Dude is out.